Citations are important, right? So if you're working with, let's say you're writing a blog article or a standard article for a research article, you want to be able to cite your sources. And once you cite your sources based on certain styles like APA6 style or MLA or Chicago or Harvard, you want to be able to cite those sources correctly and then list them at the bottom. So in this tutorial, we'll take a look at how we create and mark citations and work with those tables. And under my references tab on my far right side on the ribbon, so this is what we're going to be working with, how to marking a citation and how to insert table of authorities. Very similar process as marking entry and then inserting an index. Very similar process to inserting a caption, inserting a table of figures. So it follows the same sequence. You insert a caption, insert a table of figures, and then you identify, mark your entries, and then you insert indexes. Same thing, you mark your citations, and then you insert a table of authorities. Okay, so that's the concept here. So let's scroll down to our document. Control End brings me to the bottom of my document. Let me get to my first citation here. Obviously, if you were to do this and if you were to write 30 citations, that's going to take you a long time. Okay, and then you have to make sure that these are formatted correctly also. All right, let's see how we can create a table of authority based on my references or various citations here. Same process. I want to be able to highlight my citation, go back up to my reference under my references tab on the right side, table of authorities, and mark the citations, which brings up a dialog box, mark citation dialog box, and shows me my selected text. And again, I can change these categories. These are just built-in category. I can assign my own category if I want. So for example, if this citation that I've selected to be marked is a case or it belongs to a statute, other authorities, regulations, constitutional provisions, and so forth. The first 7 are built-in, and then from 8 to 16 I can define my own categories. Okay, so if it's a citation that belongs to a book, for example, or to a different blog on a certain website, I can create my own category and simply click on category, which brings up this, and I can either replace one of these or I can say, hey, I want a blog article reference. So I click OK. I notice in my drop down I would have this option. Oops, I didn't replace that, did I? I didn't save it. Okay, so let's do this again. So click on category. Okay, let's say blog article, and notice I have to say replace. Okay, last time I simply said okay, and the word says, well, all right, well, just by saying okay is not going to replace it. So that's why we have this replace button. So this time I replace the number 8 with the blog article, so make sure you hit replace and then you click OK. So this time I will have an option called blog article. Okay, so if I'm referencing this citation as within a blog article category, I can categorize accordingly. Okay, so it just depends on how you want to work with your citations. So once you have selected this, I click, all right, I want to go to my next citation now. Okay, so I've marked this entry. I'd like to go to my next citation, so I'm going to highlight my next citation, and if I just click within this area, Word automatically says, oh, here's the text you want to mark. Yes, I'd like to mark this. Click mark, and Word marks this, and it shows me that, let me bring this down so you can see that this text is marked. Okay, and the reason I know because of these curly parentheses, right? This is how it marks it. And notice I forgot to mark my first text, so I'm going to go back up, click anywhere in the selected area, and says mark, and now my first citation is also marked. So we'll continue this. I'm going to mark a few more citations. So I'm just going to select this and click here anywhere on the screen, on the area, selected area, and click mark. Do the same thing with my 4th citation. Highlight first, click anywhere in the selected area, click mark. Now I can always use mark all, right? So I highlight all my citations and say mark all, and Word is going to mark it. All right, one more citation I'd like to mark. Let me get this out of the way here. Citation number 5, area, and mark. And click close once I'm done. Okay. And notice the reason why I see these entries within curly parentheses, I've mentioned this earlier, but just to reiterate, reinforce, this is just show hide. Okay, remember? And you remember the shortcut key on the keyboard? Control, Shift, and number 8. Okay, so Word hides my table of authorities, my marking citations. I could do this from my Home tab also. Go to my paragraph group and show hide, and now Word shows me my citation. So again, whether you use the keyboard, fair enough, you can use it. It's much faster. You can also use it from your ribbon area. Okay? So I've marked these 5 citations. I'd like to now create a table of authorities. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down to my bottom of a document somewhere, find some empty space. Well, how about if I bring a new page here so it's easier to see. So this is where I would like to insert my table of authorities. Once I've placed my insertion point, I go back up to my References tab, all the way to the right under Table of Authorities group. And notice this option, which is on the far top right side, Insert Table of Authorities. So I simply click on this. Brings up a dialog box which says, okay, how do you want this? How do you want your table of authorities to look like? And Word shows me on my left side the print preview. I can use this pass-on feature, which is simply if I would like to elaborate or insert, create, use certain numbers, as you see changes in the preview. Or if I don't want it, which is fine, I would not want this to be, keep original formatting, which is Word is going to keep that. Or I can use similar options that I've been using in the past. So I'm going to say none. I'm going to use a simple format in my table of authorities. Here are my categories. I can select my categories if I want to display all my categories, so I can use my citations. And once I've set up my settings here, click OK, and notice how Word inserts the table of authorities for me. So very powerful. This way, if something happens, if I cite something, I make changes, Word automatically updates the table for me. Now, there are third-party softwares available which can do these citations for you, which are very, very powerful, and I use them also. So you can use Word, which works equally good, but if you're using more advanced features or you want some more customizations, you may want to use some third-party software as well, just like I use this Mendeley. I use Mendeley, for example, for my citations, and these are all add-ins, and I've shown you how to get to your add-ins, right? Go to your file, options, and I'm going to show you this quickly. Add-ins, and here are my add-ins. Okay, so I'm using a couple of these add-ins like Mendeley, for example, so that it helps me with this citation. So again, third-party, or you can use Word, equally good, and it helps you with creating a table of authorities. Okay. So we've seen in this tutorial how to mark your citations. First, you have to write them the way you want it to be in a certain format, and then how to create a table of authorities based on your citations. Let's take a short quiz.